It's right at 7 a.m. here on Denver 7, and we are following breaking news. For the second weekend in a row, a night out has turned deadly in Adams County.
We know at least one person is dead, 2 others injured. This after a shooting at a house party overnight. So let's get right out to Denver 7's Brandon Richard live at the scene. Brandon, good morning. What are you hearing?
Good morning. Yeah, this remains a very active scene. Behind me, you can see Adams County deputies and detectives here at 70th and Broadway, where they've been for several hours now. Now, if you're familiar with this area, you know there are mostly businesses here. An auto shop, a liquor store, a couple of cafes, a junkyard, and on the other side, a business park. But investigators appear to be focused on a small street sandwiched in between those businesses where there appears to, from our vantage point, be at least one house. We'll get a better look when the sun comes up, of course. But here's what we know so far. The Adams County Sheriff's Office says it started at around 1:30 this morning. That's when deputies and detectives responded to multiple 911 calls about shots being fired at a house party here near 70th and Broadway. When they arrived, deputies found 3 victims, 2 adults, and 1 person under the age of 18. The sheriff's office says the victims are both male and female. They say 2 were taken to the hospital, where unfortunately 1 victim died. Another was still being treated at the hospital. No word on the extent of that person's injuries. Deputies say that 3rd victim was treated and released here at the scene. Now, the sheriff's office says this remains an active and preliminary investigation. That means that some of the information that they've released could change as they learn more details. Now, right now, no word on a suspect, but again, detectives continue to interview witnesses to learn more about what happened and who may be responsible. We're live in Adams County this morning. Brandon Richard, Denver 7.
Brandon, thank you. We're shifting gears to our other big story today, the weather. You're taking a live look at downtown Denver right now, where things are calm for the time being, but we do have some big changes on the way, Katie.
A cold front already impacting a big portion of Colorado this morning, though, here in Denver. Mostly clear skies, dry conditions. The winds will really kick up into the afternoon, and we are expecting some widespread moisture into the mountains. Currently, it is dry over Winter Park, but places like Glenwood Springs, west of the Continental Divide, already seeing a rain-snow mix. Snow falling at higher terrain, and train and traction laws will be in effect for a big portion of the high country as we go through the next 24 hours. Outside right now, it is very mild. High 50s, low 60s, winds sustained from the south at 11 miles per hour. You see that moisture, though, streaming into the western slope from Eagle down through Aspen, starting to see some showers move into Steamboat Springs. It's a very powerful front that will continue to roll across the state, and the National Weather Service has issued quite a few alerts for this system, including winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings into a big portion of our northern, central, and southern mountains. Across the Denver area, it's going to be freezing as we get into tomorrow, and high winds and high fire danger once again for this afternoon across the eastern plains. Temperatures overnight expected to dip down to well below freezing. It's going to be a big change from what we're seeing right now, with 40s and 50s over much of the eastern half of the state and 30s and 40s into the mountains. Continued snowfall with a few showers here over the northeastern plains as we get into this evening. Winds will continue to be strong, so blustery for the Broncos game tonight, and then tomorrow it will be quite cold to start the week. But let me give you a live look right now at some of the conditions up into Colorado's high country. This is currently on I-70. You can see some wet roadways heading through Vail, and if we take you to Glenwood Springs, there is moisture falling from the sky. It's going to be a rain-snow mix, and especially over bridges, overpasses, and side streets. Be careful. Winter weather rolling into the mountains.
And those big weather changes are making for some perfect conditions in the high country for opening day at A-Basin. If you plan to hit the fresh powder, the lift will start moving at 8:30 this morning. Last year, the ski resort opened a little bit earlier on October 17th. Today, the first 50 people up the hill will get custom A-Basin duct tape for patching waterproof gear. There's also going to be coffee and donuts. You might be wondering about other ski resorts. Well, Loveland says it will not open this weekend. The resort is still making snow, and it hopes to open later this month or even early next month. Keystone also won't open this weekend. The resort is working on preparing 2 miles of trails, but it hasn't given details about an opening day. All the focus may be on snow in the high country and later tonight in the metro, but in Colorado Springs, it was a scary Saturday after the Sweetwater fire sparked evacuating people from their homes. Nearly 350 acres were burned in southern El Paso County, and it took 100 firefighters to get the fire under control. Officials say it was sparked by people illegally shooting guns at a range near Pikes Peak International Raceway. Neighbors in the area who had to evacuate tell us they're just thankful that the fire wasn't a lot worse.
People come out here, there's start bonfires out there, with no care to anybody who lives out here, their property, their lives, and this is what happens. And it could have been really bad. Glad it wasn't.
Suspects in this fire have been identified, but they're not in custody. It's still too soon to know if they're going to face charges, and no structures were destroyed. No one was hurt.
All right, it is almost game time once again for the Broncos, taking a live look at Empower Field, where you loyal fans will be piling in soon. But Russell Wilson will not be taking the field today. Here's Broncos insider Troy Rank breaking down the team's latest decision to bench Wilson and let him heal.
You want the guys that want to be on the field. They're going to do every single thing they can, and they think that they can play all the time. So those are the tough discussions you have to have with people, because you don't want to put anybody out there that isn't healthy, because player safety is so important. But in the end, the doctors, and myself, George, we have to make sure we make the right decision for the team.
Awful, inept, embarrassing. These are just some of the words used to describe the state of the Broncos offense. Internally, the team has preached they're close, pointing to narrow defeats. To sneak out a win Sunday, the Broncos' offensive line must improve dramatically against blitzes. Quinnen Williams, he's a problem. He leads a Jets defense that looks a lot like one the Broncos saw earlier this season.
They do a lot of things similar to the 49ers. They lunge off the ball. They fire off the ball. These guys aren't going to come off the ball and read and kind of try to fit gaps. These guys are up the field. So that's going to be a huge challenge for us this week. And, of course, the blitz packages and then bringing zero coverages, that's always a challenge for an offensive line and a challenge that we get excited about.
Despite 3 straight losses, the Broncos believe they can win because their defense is tougher than truck stop beef jerky. No group is better in the red zone, and Denver is allowing only 16 points per game. Linebacker Alex Singleton, who had 21 tackles versus the Chargers, told me the attitude of this group is special.
For years you kind of, watch from the outside, whatever's going on the other side of the ball in Denver, the defense has always been, one of those top 5 defenses that you're like, dang, they have, whoever at quarterback, and, their defense is still playing like that. They're in all these games, year in and year out. And so, to come here and just, since OTAs, just feel the confidence that everybody has in this room, that it's cool. And, it continues to, just build and to be part of it. It's special, and you can tell it's special, every single day you're in here.
And we'll hear more from Troy coming up in sports. Also, remember, after the Broncos hopefully win this game against the Jets, they're hopping across the pond and taking on the Jaguars in London. You can watch that game next Sunday right here on Denver 7. Kickoff is early, 7:30 a.m., and we'll be on the air starting at 7 o'clock, and we'll have post-game coverage as soon as the game is over.
The deadline for the Biden administration to appeal the temporary pause on student loan forgiveness is approaching quickly. What this means is millions of people with student loan debt wait for answers.
And if student loans do get forgiven, it could really help the housing market. We're taking a closer look coming up.